after the cops? Al Sharpton made a living attacking the police. His filthy lawyer made hundreds of millions of dollars attacking the New York Police Department, has a big art collection. Big art collection in New York. His lawyer, who himself is now accused of rape, by the way, the lawyer for Al Sharpton. You saw that weasel, didn't you, a few months ago? So don't tell me there's not a big business in attacking police departments. There are some low-life criminals in San Francisco who have made a living doing this for the last 30 years. So I'll ask you this. If you want to jump on the bandwagon and hate the police, the next time someone's threatening you or your family, trying to break into your house, and you have a few seconds to decide, what do you dial, 911 or ACLU? Think about it, idiot. Think about it, moron, before you bring it all down, girl. Now, if you want to talk about this, go ahead. She has an agenda. Her agenda is to run for higher office. Her agenda is to run for political office. She is a naked, aggressive, ambitious politician. And she is using the police to get where she wants to go. 855-407-2882. Rick on KCMO in Kansas City. Go ahead and make your point.
Well, I'm a 30-year experienced police officer that's now retired in Penn City, Missouri area. And I have a slightly different theory of what could happen, Doctor, if you'd like to hear it.
I would love to hear it. Please finish the turkey sandwich so I can enjoy mine.
Okay.
Go on, it's okay.
Well, they were bicycle cops, so I'm going to, and it really, we can look at it both ways. Bicycles are traveling to chase this man down with officers on them, or there are officers on foot chasing him, or both. And when you tackle a guy, usually you grab him around the neck just out of instinct. And I would imagine the police officers on the bicycles would do the same thing. Now, when you come off your bicycle or you're running at full speed and you bring a person down, a neck can be twisted to such an extent that it breaks. But if the person doesn't have any ill effects right then, and then he could have been put in the truck. I want to call it a paddy wagon, but that's probably in.
Right, I was going to call it a paddy wagon, but that refers to my Irish friends, so I can't do it.
We have a lot of Irish cops around here. And
it's funny, that's the derivation of the word paddy wagon. Most people don't know that.
Right.
It was used in the early days of New York's police work because they were arresting a lot of Irish. So they were arresting the paddies. That's where it came. Hold on. This is a great call. You were a former officer. You have a theory they could have broken his neck, taking him down. Very important that Rick stays with us on the Savage Nation. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN.
I'm Dante Allen. I am the one that was in the van with Freddie Gray. All it did was go straight to the station, but I heard a little banging that was like he was banging his head, and they trying to make it seem like I told them that, that Freddie Gray did that to himself. Why the would he do that to himself? I talked to Homicide. I told Homicide the same story. The only reason I'm doing this because they put my name in a bad state.
Okay, paddy wagon. Remember I told you where I thought the word derived from? And it actually, according to one source, came from the New York draft riots of 1863 during the Civil War. At that time, the Irish were the poorest people in New York. And you don't know this, but when the draft was implemented, wealthier people could buy out of the draft by paying for a waiver. So the Irish, who were poor, rioted, and the term paddy wagon was coined. Arrest those damn paddies. You understand where the word paddy wagon came from? Just a little side note. You can call it a van, prisoner van, a wagon, paddy wagon, but I thought you'd want to know where it came from. When we come back, more on what happened to Freddie Gray and why is this aggressive prosecutor throwing the book at so many cops, right here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
It is absolutely vital that the truth comes out on what happened to Mr. Freddie Gray. And it is my practice not to comment on the legal processes involved. That would not be appropriate. But I can tell you that justice needs to be served.
When I was 11 years old, that horn got to me. I got to tell you, it changed my whole life. The world goes around and around and around. During the Civil War, it was the Irish who rioted over the Draft Act because most of the poor were drafted into the Civil War, and most of the poor were Irish. And if you had money, you could buy your way out of the draft through a waiver. So the Irish rioted, and that's where the derivation of the word paddywagon originated, according to some sources. America will survive. It will go on. It won't be the same. It will change. I run into so many people who say, I think it's over because Obama's flooding America with so many illegal aliens and this and that. I could get into that state of mind, but I don't believe it, actually. Things change. Nothing is constant. Delta is the symbol of all societies, and we're going through our Delta phase once again. It may not change the way we would like it to change, but America will survive. It will recover from this evil administration. The unfortunate part is that we elected another government. We elected a new Congress, and instead we got the same thing. We have cowards, we have backstabbers, grifters, just like the Democrats. They're in it only for the money. They're only to grease their own palms and grease the palms of their donors. That's what the Republican Party has become. So we, the people, are stuck with the situation. A city went up in smoke, and unfortunately now an aggressive, politically oriented state attorney, Marilyn Mosby, indicts all of the officers involved in this guy's arrest instead of, let's say, one or two, and give them their day in court. She, in other words, indicts the entire Baltimore Police Department to appease the mobs in her husband's district. And there are many elements to this case that you need to know. They're very important to know. She should have recused herself from the case. She is not objective. Mosby considers the Baltimore attorney for the Gray family, Bill Murphy, a close friend. This attorney for the dead man gave her campaign donations when she ran for prosecutor. This attorney for the dead man was even on her transition team after her election. She is a political animal. She is a political animal who is looking to get ahead. And then we go back to the arrest itself. He's a known drug dealer, rap sheet as long as my arm. Did it justify him dying? Absolutely not. We're all entitled to human rights. We've said that before. Remember, he was arrested by 4 bicycle-riding cops to pursue and detain him, who have about the worst job in the world, which is to go after the low-grade troublemakers in American society. In essence, the people on the street like that have to pick up the worst cases. And what about restraint with a seatbelt? Is that the entire case? That's all it is, failure to restrain with a seatbelt. She didn't give any evidence that they purposely wanted him dead. Why would she bring these charges against the cops? She went way overboard. She overreached. I don't think that the police will be charged. I don't think these charges will hold up in a court of law. She did it strictly to politically grandstand. She presented no evidence of motivation to harm this man on purpose. In a manslaughter case, it generally requires someone be killed by the act of the defendant. A manslaughter charge requires that the act was either inherently dangerous or done with reckless disregard for human life, and that the defendant should have known his or her conduct threatened life. There was no evidence to this effect, none whatsoever, presented yet by Mosby. So this is a political case from the beginning to the end. And then they talk about medical homicide. Do you know what medical homicide is? Well, Mosby, the prosecutor or DA, said Gray's death was deemed a homicide by the medical examiner. What is that about? Well, according to Gregory Davis, president of the National Association of Medical Examiners, there are 5 specific classifications of death for medical examiners, and they are homicide, suicide, accident, natural, and undetermined. What does homicide mean? It means just what it says. Quote, that one person intentionally did something that led to the death of someone else. It doesn't mean the death was intentional, and it doesn't mean it was a crime. Now, maybe Moresby is right. My suspicion tells me she's just a political animal who overreached in order to advance her own political career. At the end of the last hour, we had on the line a cop from Kansas City, Rick, who gave us his opinion. I think it's important we hear from him. Rick on KCMO, welcome back to the Savage Nation. So you were how many years in police work?
Approximately 30 years, sir.
All right, and you're obviously on the side of the police, but you said that in taking down, well, put it in your own words.
Okay, well, whether you're chasing the person on foot or chasing on the bicycle, you're running or bicycling as fast as you can. And then the suspect comes in close enough to you to where you can go ahead and tackle him. Well, the natural instinct to do is reach out and grab around the neck and then go down with him. So you're going to come off the bicycle, or at the last second when chasing and you're so close to your suspect, you're going to lunge and grab him around the neck because that's the easiest place. Well, I mean,
all right, so you're going to reach out as you're running and you get up to the suspect, you're going to throw your arm in an arm lock around the neck and take him down.
Right, and not necessarily to choke him, but that's the part that sticks out. I mean, we see this in football all the time, you know, and you take him down. Well, anything could happen accidentally going down with the person. The police officer's neck could have been broken, or his back could have been snapped.
Right, so in other words, you take a guy down, the neck could go one way, the body could go another, and you could snap the neck by accident.
Because, you know, at the point you come off the bicycle or you leave your feet at those last few seconds to grab your suspect, anything can happen. We don't know which way. And
all right, so let's be clear about it. Let's say that they did break his neck by accident. Where does homicide enter the picture?
How did the homicide come into the picture?
No, why would this aggressive political animal, the prosecutor or DA, call it homicide and arrest 6 cops? That sounds crazy to me.
Well, it does to me, too, because it seems to me that there hasn't been enough time to do a thorough investigation. Now, that's just my guess because I have no inside knowledge.
I believe it's a lynch mob out to get the entire police department to appease the mobs in the street.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you about that.
All right, that's what I see. Thank you for calling. Stay on the line. I'm sending you a free copy of my forthcoming novel, Countdown to Mecca. 855-400-7282. You want to sound off on this? That's the number. You have your opinion? That's the number. WABC in New York. Susan, you're up on the Savage Nation. What's your opinion?
Yes, Mike. I do agree with you, and I agree with the caller that was just on with you. I think it was all an accident. I believe there is overreaching by this person in Baltimore, and I think it is a lynch mob. I mean, they're looking to. It's terrible what's happening. It's white against black, black against white, and quite honestly, I feel.
Well, that's what Obama and Holder and the others laid the groundwork for 6.5 years now. They created racial enmity in the country, unlike any I've seen in my lifetime. I never saw anything like this. That's their stock and trade. That is how communists work. Class warfare, race warfare, you name it. Now, that doesn't mean the guy is not dead. That doesn't mean he didn't die in a takedown or in a police van. But why would she indict 6 cops instead of 1? Why would she do that?
I believe it's what you said and what the other...
It's a strict desire to run for higher office as sure as I'm sitting here. This woman should have been forced to recuse herself from the get-go.
There are improprieties that have to be brought out, and they're not. They're covering that up. And meanwhile, let's go back to all the rioting, as you said. Why is there burning down of buildings and robbing and looting? And
what she just did was justify the mob's behavior. She just said to the wild, crazed youth, the criminals who did this, you are justified, we're on your side. In other words, there would have been a way to do this without telling them they were right. She actually went out of her way to say that they were right. Did you hear that part of her speech?
Yeah, how about the time, I think this week she made a comment that those who wish to destroy, you have to give them a little space?
No, that's a different